I didn't make a video last month. Hello everyone, yes, I know I am late. I already failed my New Year's resolution and do not have a consistent uploading schedule anymore, but I will try harder. I was going to do a book review for a book that I read and loved a couple months ago, and I was really excited to reread it, and it's sitting on my desk right now, but I haven't gotten around to rereading it yet. Don't do two plays at once, especially when one of them is Shakespeare. So I guess you can expect a book review next month or the month after, because it's summer, so I will have more time to read finally. Anyway, excuses. I am here to tell you about some of my favorite and least favorite and just kind of not a favorite books that have been turned into movies, or rather movie adaptations to books, because I like all these books. So here are 5 movie adaptations that I have opinions on, or I don't. They're just 5 movie adaptations. Disclaimer, the book is always better. Always better. Like, honestly, comment one exception to that rule. Like, there aren't any. There aren't any. Never judge a book by its movie. There's a reason I spent $8 on this thing. First things first, Harry Potter. You saw that one coming. See, I don't really have a problem with these movies. I feel like they kind of tell the story. I mean, the books are kind of long, especially once you're further into the series. I'm looking over there because that's where my Harry Potter thing is. First and last ones were pretty close to accurate, but you just miss so much in the other ones, and it's just not nearly as exciting at all. At this point, I am 100% indifferent about these movies because I don't enjoy them. I don't hate them with a passion, except for the 5th one. The Order of the Phoenix, the movie, is the one that got me to read these books because I was so darn confused. I was about 10 at the time. I think I was in 6th grade, so maybe I was older than that, but I distinctly remember that it was on ABC Family for one of their Harry Potter weekends, and I was watching it with my sister, who had read all the books. Throughout the entire movie, I was just pointing at every character and saying, "Who is that?" and looking at every place and saying, "Where in the world are they? How did they get there? What does this mean? Didn't he just get expelled? Why is he going to school?" Because they cut out so much and then added so much random fluff that just doesn't go with the plot. It got to a point where my sister was so annoyed with my questions and so bothered by just me trying to understand this movie that she just, at a commercial break, just went up to her room, brought down the first book and said, "Here, read it, you'll understand." And that's when I was like, alright, it's about time I read these things. Well, here I am now. Thanks, Emily. I credit you to my nerdiness today. Take that as you will. Number 2, The Book Thief. I actually really like how this one turned out. I feel like it translated really well into a film. I just felt like it was very dead on, and they even kept the fact that Death is the narrator, and I feel like that is one of the coolest things, one of the most creative things I've ever seen in a book. When you imagine Death as a character, already it's pretty creative, but then this one's not creepy, this one's not terrifying in any way, it's just exhausted and doesn't really like its job. I love how they characterize it in the book, and in the movie it's no different. It's fantastic. Of course, I enjoyed the book a little bit better. I mean, I always do. Maybe it's just because it was the book, but it's been a while since I've read and watched The Book Thief, so I can't really remember the differences specifically right now, but I think it translated very well. Thirdly, we have A Series of Unfortunate Events, which is guiltily one of my favorite series of all time. I love the movie. I love the movie. But it's only the first 4 books. Yeah, it's 13 books long of a series, but book 5 is where the overarching plot starts. You know, and every book has its own little plot line. They go to a foster home, the foster person does something wrong, and then they leave, and then the next book starts with a different person, and you know, it's kind of repetitive. And in the movie they can, you know, portray that really well because they have the power to condense all that, because it is a little repetitive in the series. The 5th book is where they meet these 2 triplets. That's where it picks up, because then you start seeing characters return instead of leaving them behind forever. Like, we get Esme back in like book 13. I just wish that we had had a chance to see how it ends, because in the movie it is very abrupt ending. They defeat Count Olaf really early on, which that does happen, but he's not defeated by the thing that happens. I'm gonna try really hard not to spoil. That's not how the series ends. It's 13 books long. That'd be a very pathetic ending. I like how they took the first 4 books and made them into a quality movie, but they're missing out on so much, and it's kind of disappointing in that ending. The last word of book 13 is in my book quotes video because it's one of my favorite quotes. I love that series. That's a rereadable series. I'm gonna have to make a book review on that at some point in time. And yes, I have heard that they're going to make it into a Netflix series, and I am so excited for that. I saw the casting. Well, I saw the casting call. I didn't see who actually got cast or if they even have casting yet. I should probably look that up. I know it's really happening. I know it's not a rumor, so just really hoping that that turns out a lot better. Most series should be TV shows and not movies, because then you can have one book is a season and one chapter is an episode, and while it kinda, some of them might not have enough, maybe you could put 2 chapters in there, maybe you can like split a chapter in half if you have to, I don't know. But that's just, it's logical. It's logical. Why doesn't everybody do that? Then everyone would be happy and you would earn more money. Isn't that what you want, Hollywood, by changing Divergent into a love triangle? Because I am still bitter about that. Percy Jackson. You saw this one coming too. It's not the same story. It's not the same story. If you watch the Percy Jackson movies, you cannot say that you know what Percy Jackson is about. You can't say that. It's not the same story. Greek mythology, there's a kid named Percy, there's a girl named Annabeth. That's it. That's all the similarities I can find. Yeah, Luke is in the movies, but like not the way he's supposed to be. Oh my gosh. I read the Percy Jackson series twice. I read the first 4 books in 4th grade. I didn't ever finish it, but then I reread it last year because I have a friend who really wanted me to, so I read it all the way through. I enjoyed it. It was a good series. So I know that these movies exist. I know that everyone hates them, so of course I had to watch one just to, you know, understand it. And it's not the same story. I don't even know what to say about this. Everyone has a common enemy in this movie series. The author himself has not watched these movies, and I am so glad because he would be so embarrassed. In fact, I haven't even finished watching these movies because I don't want to. I'll consider it fanfiction, that's what I'll call it, because none of it happens in the books, but it uses some of the same characters. It's the brunette Annabeth AU. Last anger rant is about Divergent. It is so sad to me that these movies exist. It's on Netflix, so my parents and my sister and I all sat in the basement and watched it together, and all of us but my dad had read the series. And he was so confused within 10 minutes that, like, I think that kind of proves how bad they are. Your goal as a filmmaker is to make a movie interesting. Even if you aren't basing it off of anything, even if it's like an original, if people are confused within a few minutes, you're not doing your job right. I understand that the faction thing can be kind of confusing if you're trying to rush it along really fast, which they kind of had to because you don't want to spend so much time on explaining abnegation are the selfless ones and erudite is the smart ones. So it's this really big surprise when this specific character who's really selfless goes to the smart place. That's a surprise, that's a plot twist. I understand they can't really spend time on it, but if you can't understand it as a viewer, then it's not worth your time. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, you can't write in a love triangle. I saw the trailer for Insurgent, and I know of Allegiant, but oh my gosh, I am afraid that they're not gonna do the death at the end, right? The death that everyone knows about. The death that I'm going to spoil in about 3 seconds. I have a feeling that Triss is not going to die for Caleb. I feel like she's just going to die of her own stupidity. And that's the only thing that made me cry in Allegiant. I'm so scared that they're not gonna get that effect. These actors aren't my favorite actors in the world, and these writers clearly don't know what they're doing because they probably haven't even read these books. Anyway, after seeing these trailers, I am not going to give them the satisfaction of my money by watching them. Speaking of trailers, whose movies I will not give anyone the satisfaction of my money by seeing, there are a few books that I know do have movies that I haven't gotten around to seeing yet. Some of them it's because I don't want to, and some of them I just haven't had a chance to see yet. I'm gonna start with The Giver. I talked about this one in my required reading video. How can you expect to portray one of the biggest plot twists of the entire book? Spoilers. By putting it in color! That's the whole thing! That's... You can't put that movie in color! And then in black and white! And then in color, you can see it! You can't cast 20-year-olds as 12-year-olds. They don't look 12, they look 20. And that's what makes it so powerful, is that they are children. You cannot cast 20-year-olds, it doesn't have the same effect. Same way that in the Hunger Games, you know, they're also like 25, and they're supposed to be 16. I even saw a post somewhere on the internet, basically said, like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if these actors were like actually 16? They had like pictures like Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson just like, as 16-year-olds. Can you imagine these people killing each other? Like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. Like, that's what Suzanne Collins was trying to do. They are children. They are young. That's why it's so terrifying. Another trailer that I've seen plenty around is Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to see it, but I haven't yet finished the series. I'm in the middle of the second book right now. I'm really enjoying it. I hope to get around to watching this movie once I finish it. I've read The Hobbit. I guess I could watch that movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it as the dragon. Of course I'm going to see it. It's good to keep my own mental image of these characters and my own imagination about like orcs and like all the places that they visit and stuff, so that I don't spoil myself with the characters that they cast. Just kind of ruins your first experience of reading. I'll get around to it eventually. Also, I know that Great Gatsby has a movie. Honestly, I'm a little bit just afraid to watch that one. It doesn't seem like the kind of book that can really be translated well into a movie, just in my opinion. I mean, half the book is the insanely poetic prose that just describes everything. That's kind of half the fun of reading, you know, is you could look at something in a movie frame and see what it looks like, or you can read the book and see quotes like the silver pepper of the stars. Like, you're not gonna get something that poetic, you're just gonna see a bunch of stars and say, that's pretty. It's completely different. I don't know. It's just my opinion on it. Maybe it's fantastic. It has Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Of course, it's probably not that bad. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is going to be a movie very soon, directed by Tim Burton, and it's one of my favorite series ever, but Olive and Emma switch powers, and like visually the casting looks good, but the trailer's scaring me. I trust Tim Burton with this. Ransom Briggs seems happy with it. It's not going to be the same story, and I'm just really hoping it's not as bad as Percy Jackson. So that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say for this video. Comment any movies that I missed, that I didn't talk about, that you want to talk about, any that you love, hate, any differing opinions, any same opinions. I'm all for those. Just leave a comment. You can subscribe if you so desire to see stuff like this, because I will have more book reviews out, because that's kind of why I created this channel to begin with, but then I just haven't had enough time to read. I started this at a bad time. I will be making more videos, and I promise you one next month because I have less going on, and I still feel bad about missing April. Like if you liked, all that. So long! One movie that is better than the book that it's based on. Well, I had one and then I lost it. I was about to contradict myself, but that one probably doesn't even count, whatever it was. What was I going to say? I'm curious. I don't know. If you come up with... There are mind readers out there. You know who you are. Just remind me what I was about to say. Forgot to get my props. Trying to decide if it's worth it. Yeah, I'll chase the cat away while I'm at it. There's a white screen right behind the camera that I could be putting a lamp on. But I'm having too much... I lose my train of thought so fast. I'm already racking up the bloopers. But I don't feel like holding up a bunch of books today, so I'm just gonna talk about them. Anyway, Jasper, can you stop screaming, please? I'm trying to film. Thank you kindly. I said thank you. That means that's good. That means we're doing well. Let's not even get into the casting of Umbridge, because does she look like a toad? Does she look like a toad? No, she's pretty. That's not how it... I feel like the casting, okay, the casting for, is her name Liesel? Is it Liesel? It's like leaving like the first foster home was kind of off, but yeah, second foster home. And Miss Peregrine. That was a dramatic entrance. Also, when trying to come up with different books and movies to put into this video, I was just on Goodreads on one of those lists, because like, I had a few written down, like I knew I was going to talk about Harry Potter, I thought about talking about The Hunger Games, I knew I was going to talk about The Giver because I'm never over that. I couldn't come up with any more, so I was looking down this list, and I found out that a few of these books that I have read are actually movies, and I need to see them. It's kind of a funny story came up, and I'm like, that's a good book. IMDb tell me this is true, and it is. Also, I'm number 4. Okay, let's talk about that series for a second. I don't ship John and Sarah, and it's ruining me. I mean, the most recent book that came out kind of solved that. I'm not going to tell you why, but oh yeah, it's cringy in my opinion. I'm generally enjoying the series. It's getting kind of long. I might watch the movies just to refresh before the last book comes out. First of all, I looked at the casting, and I mean, Six is casted well. Six looks just like I imagined her. Actually, I've been kind of imagining people that I know as these characters, like accidentally. Like, I'll read someone has curly hair, I'm like, hey, this person has curly hair, and suddenly they're that character. So actor-wise, like, it looks similar to how I was imagining, and I'm kind of hoping that it turns out better than the book did. But the book is always better, so actually these movies might not be that great. I shouldn't be bashing books. You guys probably like them. It's a good series for some people. Like, a lot of people love that series. That's why I got into it, because so many people loved it. Also, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants as a movie. Apparently it's been a movie for like over 10 years, and I didn't know about this. I enjoy that series. I haven't read the last book because it was kind of getting repetitive. I'm curious how it ends. I just don't want to read 300 pages to find that out. Maybe I will one day. I don't know. Again, I looked at the casting, and it's nothing like I imagined. I imagined all 4 girls looking 100% different from each other, and they all kind of look the same. They're all really skinny, really tall, really white. They did have the one girl with her blonde hair, because I remember that was her trademark. Only one of them does have blonde hair, so I knew which one that was. I don't know, I might watch that one just for fun, just to compare it, because since it does switch between points of view, I feel like that would be kind of a confusing movie to watch. It's gotta be very clear that they are all friends, and they have been friends. They don't, it's not just 4 stories that happen to collide.